I'm making this video. This is about my 5th attempt to make the video, but I'm making it really as an explanation as to why I've actually shut down the channel. I know it's kind of ironic that I'm making a video on the channel that I've shut down, but this is completely non-technical. So if you're wanting to see me playing on what's left of my bench, you're going to be sadly disappointed. But I did think it was necessary, and I've spoken to a couple of my subscribers about this, that I give you the real explanation as to why I've shut it down. So I think we need to go into a little bit of brief history. I'm 73 years old and feel 110 years old, but we won't go there. I've been a type 1 diabetic for almost 55 years, and those that understand what that means, I'm already under a sentence of bad health because of that. Another issue is I'm allergic to statins, and one of the side effects of being a type 1 diabetic is that you tend to have high cholesterol, irrespective of whether you eat hundreds of pies, fat this and fat that, McDonald's this and McDonald's that. In spite of that, if I was to eat grass, I would still potentially have high cholesterol. And because I'm an allergic to statins, the effect of that, by the way, is severe muscle pain and weakness. And I only found out about this after being on statins for 2 years and going to my doctor and saying, look, I can hardly stand up. My muscles ache and hurt so much. And bear in mind, we're talking about a few years ago now. And then he comes out to me and says, oh, it's probably the statins. So we won't go there. So that's one problem that I've got, high cholesterol. And that has ultimately led to me needing a triple bypass, which I had approximately 4 years ago. And the symptoms of that was literally severe fatigue, no energy, feeling generally unwell. And I went to my doctor, my GP, and he said, having looked at my ECG, which I had done at the same time, and it says things are not well with your heart. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I had a triple bypass, and I did feel somewhat better after that, but to say this was 4 years ago, but I've steadily been going downhill ever since. And probably about a year ago, I started getting severe symptoms, and these are largely the following symptoms. Now, all these things started at or around the same time, but aren't necessarily linked. Now, I have to say, as if you haven't guessed already, I'm not a doctor. I cannot give you technical advice. Amplifiers maybe, but medical issues no. And I'm giving you this as an explanation, not because I want you to feel sorry for me or anything like that. Please don't think that. I'm just giving you information as to why I'm no longer capable of doing what I've done in the past. And I understand also, whilst I'm going to give you some pretty horrible symptoms, horrible to me, I do understand that there are many people hundreds of times worse off than I am. So, as I said, I'm not looking for sympathy or anything like that. This is just facts of the way it is today. And, well, I hope you don't find it entertaining, but I hope you find it interesting. Since the symptoms started, I've had severe tinnitus, which for listening to hi-fi is not good. not good at all. And I've had headaches ranging from mild to really severe, where it feels like I've got compression on my head, like I've put my head in a vice. And that is predominantly there all the time. But the main symptoms are severe dizziness, severe weakness. As a further extension, my muscles in my leg and arm ache and are really painful. I get short of breath, and the thing that's capped it all recently is I've become tachycardic. Initially just once or twice a week, but now it's every day, sometimes all day, sometimes just a little. And the effect of this is apart from arrhythmia and other heart issues. I'll tell you about the medications I'm on shortly, but here are some of the graphs which I've taken with this. I haven't got it instantly to hand, but I've made a video in the past about a little device for measuring ECGs, which if you do suffer from these items, I'd recommend you get them. I don't make any money out of it, by the way, but I'm just passing on some information which you'll find really useful. In the last 4 to 5 weeks, the arrhythmia and tachycardia, that's not the word, is it? Tachycardia, yes, tachycardia. I don't know why I can't even speak today. It's nothing to do with my symptoms, I just can't think. Anyway, the symptoms have been getting steadily worse, and I actually went to the hospital and they fitted me with a 7-day monitor ECG, and I'm actually still waiting for the results of that. But I pretty well know what they are because I've printed off some of my own which I've previously shown you. And I was supposed to see the doctor at the hospital in 10 days' time from now, but the other night I became so poorly, I literally spent all day just in bed. I just couldn't get up. I was so weak, and my heart was pounding, and it even influences my eyesight. The pounding of my heart makes my image in my eyes pulse as well. And I very nearly went to the hospital, but I've been there so many times, and I hesitate to say, yes, it is completely useless. I spend the night in there, and in the morning I generally feel better, and they say, nothing wrong with you, go home. So the next time I go to hospital will probably be when I'm in a coma or something like that, because it costs me $100 in ambulance fees every time I go there, and I do largely find it pointless, because after you've laid down there for 8 or 9 hours, in those times it did tend to get better, and they'd look at my ECG, my BP, and they'd say, nothing wrong with you, go home. And the same thing happens a few weeks later, but now it's getting to be all the time. So getting on to what I'm saying about this, because I had a really bad session a few nights ago, I decided to print off, as the next day I felt better enough that I could print off some of my own ECGs, and I sent them with a letter to the cardiology unit at the hospital here in Waikato, New Zealand. And my wife took the letter up there because I couldn't face the steps and things, and she got her ear bent for doing that. Apparently I should have gone to my GP Incidentally, I did try to phone my GP this morning to make an appointment, and it was going to take 10 days to get an appointment. I said it was relatively urgent. 10 days before he's going to even speak to me. And which ironically is when I will probably be going to the hospital for the follow-up on the ECG monitor. But when I left hospital the last time, the conclusion was I should go back to my GP and he will sort out my medication. Now, I'm not putting down the job of a GP, but by nature it stands for general practitioner, which means they know a little about a lot of things, and I don't think he would be upset at me describing that. But the hospital are where the experts should be, i.e. a cardiologist. So when the cardiologist says go home and discuss your medication with your GP, to me that's just passing the buck. And my GP, in all honesty, says, well, he actually said, well, I referred you to the hospital because they are the experts and I'm not. So I just don't know what to do. I go to the GP and they forward me to the hospital. Go to the hospital, they say, well, GP will sort it out. So that's where I am at the moment. I just don't know what's going on. I had an angiogram a few weeks ago when I was told I would potentially have a stent or two fitted, because my heart now is only 44% of its proper efficiency. So you're on a bit of a downer when you hear that. But then you look at the results, and out of the three bypass grafts that I had, two of them have completely failed now. They're completely blocked. So I now have only one major artery open. And if that gets blocked, it's curtains. Just it's either a severe stroke or more likely a severe heart attack. Either way, it's not good. So when I went for this angiogram, I was told that they would look at the possibility of using some stents. Stents, depends on where you come from. And I thought, well, that's good, because if they can open up some of the blocked arteries, I might live a few more weeks and I might feel better. But I came out of the operation with numerous tubes and things hanging out of me and bandages and plasters in various places, and he said, oh, sorry, couldn't fit any stents. And I'm not totally sure why, because I was still under the anaesthetic at the time, and he did explain to me, but he might as well be speaking to me in Chinese because I didn't absorb any of it. But I did get a hand-drawn drawing, which I'll show you here, and I don't totally understand this, but in a nutshell, my GP said they can't, or he couldn't do anything with stents, so I've got what I've got. Now, one of the biggest problems is that, as I just explained probably badly, if that existing or that last one artery gets blocked, that's it. It's not a case of not making any more videos, it's a case of, well, seeing if there really is a God at all, which I severely doubt. But sorry, I won't be able to report back on that one. On the odd occasion that I have a good day, my BP, or blood pressure, is pretty good, considering I've got I was going to use a rude word there and begin with F, but I won't. I'm so tempted. as my heart is not functioning too well, my BP is normally about 125/70, which is generally fairly good for, well, for anybody, to be honest, but certainly for someone of my age with all these issues. But I do have problems that some days my BP drops really low, 90/40, 90/50. And when it's like that, of course, it's effectively, for me, virtually no blood pressure. My arms go tingly and my hands get ice cold, and I can hardly stand up and feel really, really dizzy. And it's a sitting in the chair watching really crappy films on TV. It's a nice TV, but still crappy films. And the opposite is true. I have days when my heart BP goes up to 200/100, and the symptoms of that is even worse headache, really severe headache, but things like paracetamol just don't touch it. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. And I feel like I've got a ton weight on my whole body. I just feel like a sloth. Not that I know what a sloth feels like, but I can imagine it would be like that. It may sound like I'm trying to make light of this, but I'm really quite, I won't say, well, yes, I am upset by it, because I'm generally a relatively healthy person. I'm not a smoker, I don't drink, I certainly don't take drugs. Well, apart from all the crap the doctors keep giving me, which is another story in itself. So I'm frustrated by my lack of being able to do even basic things. So this is about my fifth, maybe sixth attempt to make a video explaining to you good folks what's happened. Whether it will end up going in the bin like the other 5 copies, I don't know. It may not even be published. Oh, don't film me. Not now, please. I'll give a brief chat now on the medication that I'm taking. I won't go into the diabetic stuff, insulin stuff, because that's another issue and isn't directly related to this at all. Now, one of the ones that I take is called Prodaxa, and is basically known as a blood thinner, although strictly that's not exactly what it does. Your heart goes into fibrillation. Instead of producing a beep, 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 it just goes like that. Excuse the rather crude interpretation. And it foams up the blood. And this can clot and then make its way to your brain or other chambers of the heart, and you get a stroke or a seizure or a heart attack, and not something you want to have, as I'm sure those you good folks that have had such things will probably testify. This has the effect of stopping that happening, hopefully. The side effects are that your blood doesn't clot so well. So if you have a bleed, let's say you have a bleed in your brain or something like that, you're dead, basically. So you have a choice with these tablets of having a heart attack or stroke or both, or being dead, or taking these tablets and bleeding to death. So it sounds like an oversimplification. But that is really what your choice is if you don't take these, and you, particularly now as I have fibrillation issues every single day. And for now, for some reason, I have a chest pain here I've no idea why, and it's just come on this minute. But we'll try and ignore that and hope it goes away. So that's one tablet that I have to take twice a day. And for those of you that are keeping score, they are 150 milligrams twice a day. The other one I'm taking, which is generally another one for the heart, is a beta blocker, and the one I'm taking is called Beatlock, and it's a rather strange size. It's 47.5 milligrams, which is very precise, and they're white, so they've got to be good. Why is it you never see any green tablets? Anyway, we won't go there. It's just a thought. And I take these once a day, but these also have the effect of lowering your heart rate, and is supposed to keep your heart running smoothly. And I have to say that I've got no evidence that they do any of those things yet, because I've still got fibrillation, arrhythmia, and all these things that is supposed to sort out. But I was told when I went to the doctor about this, he says, oh, take one at night as well, which is a bit strange because they are 24-hour time release capsules. So what he basically means is double up. But I can't double up because sometimes my BP is so low, as I explained earlier, if I was to take a double dose of that, my BP, I'm sure I would end up dead or in hospital very poorly. Because you don't want heartbeats of 50 over 20 or something like that. It's not good. So that's why I'm stuck on those. The other tablet I'm taking is called Duride, which is these things, a sort of beigey colour. But I have to break these in two and take half a tablet a day. So basically I'm taking 30 milligrams. Again, these are just supposed to, I'm told I need them, but as I'm not a medical person, as you've clearly seen, I don't know if I need them or not. But all of these tablets have one side effect that is crucial. They all potentially give you headaches. So I've already got severe headaches, so now I've got 3 more tablets that give you headache on top of your headache. So you can imagine my poor head feels like it's going to explode sometimes. But they're keeping me alive, I think. Just a thought, by the way, if someone's got an explanation for this. You can clearly see they have a line on them, and to cut these you just break them with your fingers, and it's much easier than using a knife or something like that. But it says on the box, do not crush, or what's the other thing it says you mustn't do? Or chew. Okay, well I can understand that because it's a 24-hour release tablet, so the coating on it dissolves slowly, I guess. But when you break the tablet, inside it's all open. So what's the difference between chewing the tablet or breaking it like that? It doesn't make sense to me, but I'm sure someone much cleverer than me will know the answer to that. I can't wait to hear it. Now, one of the side effects of one of the tablets, and to be honest, I can't remember which one it is. I should have researched this more, but it desensitizes my ability to tell when my sugar levels on my diabetes is low. Normally, you can tell that because you feel, it's not a feeling that I can describe, but you feel faint, weak, like you're going to pass out. And in extreme cases, you will, and it's a hospital job. But I can generally, I know a lot of you people are from America and won't understand this. Not because you're Americans, please don't think that. It's a different scale. In our part of the world, an ideal sugar, blood sugar level is 5.6, 5.7. So that's why I'm saying some of you Americans won't know what those numbers are. It's because you use a different scale. But I don't know what your scale is. It's in the hundreds. Anyway, so going back to what I was saying. So if my sugar levels drop much below about 4, I can tell by the feelings I have, and I know I have to go and eat something. And contrary to many TV programs that show diabetics in need of insulin, that is rarely the case. You can go weeks without insulin and you wouldn't be well, and I don't recommend it. But you see these programs where somebody gets kidnapped and they say, oh, he's diabetic, and you see them there, and they say, he needs his insulin. No, he doesn't. He needs food, because if your blood sugars drop, you need food. If you inject more insulin, the sugar levels will drop even more and you will kill them. And if you're kidnapping somebody, you don't want them dead. So I'm sorry I digress from that, but it's just something I see on the TV and films so often. I'm screaming at the TV saying, why don't you get your basic facts straight? You can run high in the 20s for some time. Don't think I'm condoning this at all, because it's not good. You don't want to. But if you're out for the day, for example, and you don't take your insulin, your sugar levels will rise. But you won't feel brilliant, but you won't die. But what's the opposite? If you don't eat your food, your sugar levels will drop and you will go into a coma. So if you go out without your insulin, it's not the end of the planet, but please don't do it. But if you go without some food, you're in deep trouble. Potentially you will die. But certainly you can be in trouble if you haven't had food within 3 or 4 hours of your last injection. So be careful, type 1ers. I'm speaking from experience here. I didn't come here to teach you things like that. Anyway, where were we? Yes, I've just remembered where I think this is going to be a long video. You might like to stop it here and go and have a cup of tea or something. Or just delete it and watch something more interesting. That's probably what I would do. Anyway, so one of these tablets desensitizes me to that, and I've had some very low numbers of late, and it's quite worrying, because I've gone all these years and I know when I need food. So I have to be so careful and make sure I've always got jelly beans or something sugary. I know that sounds crazy that a diabetic should be eating sugar, but if your sugar gets low, glucose or pure sugar or jelly beans is absolutely what you need. And don't say, people say, oh, you're a diabetic, you shouldn't have sugar. At times you need it, and it's a lifesaver. Now the other big problem with one of these tablets, again, apologies for not telling you which one, is they make you depressed. Now, not depressed in the way that I want to slash my wrists or jump off somewhere pretty high. Not that kind of depressed. And I feel deeply sorry for anyone that does feel like that. Watching my videos probably won't help. But it makes you feel like you can't be bothered with anything. And this is largely the way I feel now. And that's the other reason why I'm closing the channel. Because I can't be bothered. Literally, so many people have said, oh Mike, you know, we want to see you make some more videos and we miss you and that. And I'm touched beyond belief that 2 or 3 of you feel that way. But you know what it's like. If you can't be bothered with something, you can't. No one can say to you, pull yourself together, Mike, because if you don't care, you don't care. And I feel that way about virtually everything. I've even lost my appetite. Sadly, I haven't lost any weight. But food doesn't excite me anymore, and I have to literally almost force myself to eat certain things that are good for me rather than just eating rubbish. To show you how desperate I was, the other day I went to McDonald's. I haven't been to McDonald's for many years, but for some reason I thought, yep, just fancy a McDonald's. And it's a good thing because I now no longer wish to eat McDonald's ever in my life. It is just crap. It is just so salty, it's so sweet. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sponsored by McDonald's. Don't eat McDonald's. You will only get fat or ill or both. Needless to say, there are other such places that will equally do it, but I just happen to be at McDonald's. I won't go there because that's another whole story about the order was wrong, and I could make a video, if I could be bothered, which I can't, all about McDonald's. And the prices have gone up so much. So before it was cheap crap and you could forgive it, but now it's expensive crap. Yeah, literally nothing interests me at the moment. I've gone off music. I haven't played any music for probably 2 weeks. I don't enjoy watching the television anymore. And I'm talking about decent stuff, not all this. We won't even go there, that'll get me going again. But basically, I'm just fed up with everything, really. Predominantly with myself and the fact that I'm feeling ill all the time. Don't let the brave face make you think that, oh, he's just making this up. Sadly, I wish I was. But looking at it realistically, not over pessimistically, but my days are somewhat numbered, as I've described to you. So that doesn't make you enthusiastic for doing things. And then there's the ability to do them. I can hardly stand up sometimes. I feel so weak, with severe headache, and then, do you know, my heart beats so hard at times, it affects my eyesight. If I'm looking at something, it goes in and out of focus with the beat of my heart. You couldn't make this stuff up, could you really? You just couldn't. But just occasionally, everything settles down and it feels like life is wonderful again, but it only lasts about an hour. But just occasionally I get that peace and I get my blood pressure, and my blood pressure's perfect. I look at my little meter. I keep trying to show it to you, but I haven't got it here at the moment. It's in the other room. The meter shows no abnormalities. So for a brief period in time, I'm normal. But it doesn't last. And during that brief period, I feel at peace with the world. Everything's not thumping and jolting me, and I think, well, this is how normal people feel. So to sum up, yeah, there is going to be a summary. There always is in my videos. My future doesn't look long or good. it's very, very unlikely that I should post any more videos. You never know, but I might get an hour of peace when I think, ooh, but I've almost dismantled my bench anyway. There's a few bits on it still, but in the cupboard I've thrown away half of our rubbish bin full of bits of wire, bits of project. And don't worry from the people that were concerned that I'm throwing away something decent. I'm not. I've sold my L12 amplifier that I built, and it shows you how pissed off I am. I'm even thinking of selling my L12. So now you can really believe how I feel. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, but mostly for watching some of my videos from the past. I had no idea when I closed the channel that I would get such a sympathetic response, but so many people said, oh, when you get better you'll come back, won't you? Well, I would like that to be the case, but I think it's unlikely, because there's nothing they can do without, nothing appears, there's nothing they can or will do about fibrillation, arrhythmia, and all the other things that show up on your ECG. So I am what I am for as long as I am. So for me, goodbye and thank you so much.